So hopefully you've watched my video on how to go through like that setup wizard to do with Xero, and you're now confronted with this dashboard in front of you and you're thinking, oh my god, what do I do next? Well, okay, I'm going to take you through today exactly what you do need to do next, exactly which buttons to press and things like that. And what I'm going to do is just, I haven't really got a plan for today's video. I'm just going to whip you around the system, looking at various different things, give you a bit of confidence as well. I've done hundreds of Xero setups, so just sit back, relax, and I'll show you around the system. Okay, so the first thing that you've got is you've got this dashboard in front of you, and I love the dashboard. I think it's absolutely great. If you're a sole trader or you've got these invoices that are owed to you right here, so straight away as soon as you logged in you can see who owes you money. And it's the same if you're entering your bills into the system as well. I'll probably do a separate video on receipt scanning as well. Xero's got this new feature called Xero Files, and I just saw it last week. I was invited to an event run by Xero and they demonstrated it, and I was like, wow, this is really exciting. So I'll maybe do a separate video on that as well. But again, it's right in front of you as well. The things that I'm not necessarily so keen on is this cash in, cash out thing. I mean, some people find it useful, some people don't. And as you build up your business, you can start to see kind of a general picture of cash in, cash out. I think I much more prefer to go and have a look at the profit and loss and the cash summary reports and stuff like that. I find that a lot more useful. And again, it gives you a bit of a snapshot of your year-to-date figures as well. There's this thing called accounts watch list, which I'll maybe come back to. I think as a sole trader doing MTD, I wouldn't worry too much about this. Expenses to review as well, and things like that. There is a button here so you can actually edit your homepage, move stuff around. You might be like, I don't need that, I'm going to take that off there. So you can have it so it's set up in the way you want to set it up as well. So once you're done, you press done, and that's it pretty much. One thing you might have noticed as I've gone through that dashboard, you're like, Justin, where's the bank? Well, I haven't actually set up a bank. You may have, during the setup process, added a bank account, or you may have gone, actually, I'm going to wait until I'm set up and then I'm going to add it later. So that's probably the first thing that we need to do. Xero runs around this concept called bank reconciliation, and what I'm going to do in a minute, because this license of Xero is just a fresh setup and I haven't actually got a business bank account to connect at this moment in time, or not one that I can't use it because of confidential information. But Xero's got a demo company, so I'm going to show you how to get into that demo company, and then we can click a few buttons and have a look as well. So the first thing is, if we go up to the accounting menu up there, we've got bank accounts, and that's probably where I would go first and foremost. And you've got this button for adding a bank account. One of the things I've talked about in my book to do with Making Tax Digital is the importance of a good bank feed. Some of the banks have got great bank feeds, and there's a few that haven't got so great bank feed. One of the kind of, you can obviously see a list of banks here, but if you just make a type, and you can see that auto-filling there of all the different banks that I've connected recently for clients as well. So if you happen to use HSBC Business, you could click that. If it was Starling, you could click that. Depending on the type of bank, depends on how that bank feed will be set up. So someone like Starling, I'm just using these as random examples, and the reason I'm using that is because it's set up within the app. So you go into the Starling bank, you find the section which says integrations, you click it, you then log into your Xero from the Starling app. So you might find you're doing that from your mobile device. That can make it a little bit awkward actually when you're kind of trying to log into Xero through a mobile browser and it's all worked through the app. But I think just persevere with it, and then you can actually, there's no problems at all. If you were using someone like HSBC on the other hand, because I happen to have some experience with that one, it basically, you follow a link, a set of instructions from Xero through here, and it will take you through to adding it. And it's like you provide your login details and off you go, basically. It's no problems at all. And once you've done that, you've added it. Once you've added that first bank account, it will appear on your dashboard. So if I click that home button, anytime you click home, it takes you back to the Xero dashboard, and your bank account will be included on that. And we'll see that within the demo company as well. One of the things I would also do before I get going is think about, hang on, how am I actually using? One of the things you might find useful is going into the account settings right straight away, and also before we move on to the chart of accounts as well, and just customize some of our nominal structure. I did talk about that a little bit in our setup video, but let's have another look in a moment as well. Let's start with the account settings. For some reason in Xero, it loads up into the middle of the page. So if actually I scroll up, there's actually more options. The way I kind of think about it is the bottom bit, as soon as I go into account settings, that's really all about the kind of the financial stuff. And if I scroll up, it's more about the organization settings, so your business settings. I would just have a quick fly through these lists and just have a look at your organization settings. Make sure it's all set up correctly. It takes 2 minutes to kind of go through this, and just make sure you filled it out. If you want to invite your accountant, that's where you do it there. You can manage your subscription and billing. So if you've gone for a Grow subscription and you're like, actually, I wouldn't mind downgrading to Simple or into the Ignite edition, then you can do that. Or maybe you need to go up to the Comprehensive or Ultimate editions, then you can obviously do that as well. If you connect any apps into your Xero, so things like Dex for receipt scanning, or maybe you've got project management software, say you're in the trades, you might have Tradeify. That's where you would manage all of that as well. Reply to email settings. I'll just have a look in here, because this is when you start sending out invoices to people, sort of sales invoices. You can control the wording of all of those invoices. So as I start showing you that feature, you might be like, where do you find that? I find it easy just to show you where you can find all the settings first, because as you what happens is you start like, I'm going to raise a sales invoice. You start raising it and you're ready to send it to a client, and you're like, oh, I don't like that wording. And you're like, oh, I wish I'd customized that up front. And so sometimes I think it's better to go and look at the settings and customize what you're doing. If you're not sending statements out or purchase orders or remittance advices, don't do any of that stuff. Don't customize it. Don't waste your time. If you're not using repeating invoices, don't change the template. You can have your own custom template. So I've got one client where they've got 2 different brands that they use, and they have 2 different email templates because of that. If you are using the quotation part of it, then do that. Quotes are great because we can turn a quote into a sales invoice, and obviously someone can click the online quote link, they can accept it. I'll show you all of that as well, so that's fine. So that's kind of the settings for emails. The invoice settings, again, really important in here. You can create custom themes for the invoices. To be brutally honest, I think I've done it once or twice in the last 10 years. It's really not necessary. There are a couple of things in here which I think are important, especially before you raise your first sales invoice. The first is in the default settings. If you have an invoice numbering sequence that you've already started with and you're now moving on to Xero, this is where you can continue that sequence. So rather than starting from 1, so let's say you were up to 10,987 invoices, then we can have the next number as that 10,987, for example. And it's the same if you've got quotes that you're raising that have got reference numbers on them. Again, just make sure you've changed that sequence as well. We can put at the top here some default settings for, in particular, sales due dates. So when we're raising sales invoices, it will default usually something like 14 days after the invoice date. Simple as that, and then we can press save. Other things in here that you might find useful as well is you can get to the payment services. So say you wanted to set up Go Cardless for direct debit payments or Stripe for taking card payments, you can quickly access those areas as well. You've got things like invoice reminders, so you can do automated invoice reminders. I'm probably not going to delve into those 2 things in particular detail. I use the payment services personally. I find it really convenient. I've just set up Electrician the other day, and I showed in the Xero app, and you can have it so you can take a card payment. So for like emergency call out, he basically says, look, I'm going to send you an invoice. It'll have a payment link on it that you've got to pay before I leave, because he's been having problems with along those as he's going to the job. Someone's like, we found someone else to do the job, so taking the payment up front so he's not wasting any time. And then when he's at the job, he might do some additional work, and he can just pull out the Xero app and take a card payment. It's a really great feature, and I'll maybe do a separate video on payments and stuff like that. Invoice reminders don't always work for people. Again, I was talking about the branding, they're having the different email templates for that client who has 2 separate brands. That's about the email communication of what the email goes, not what the invoice looks like. So when the PDF is generated, and that's where we might use the separate branding themes. Other couple of kind of key things in here is uploading your logo into that box there. You can just do it as simple as that. Browse for it, upload it. JPEG, GIF or PNG is absolutely fine. And again, I quite often go into the options tab here as well. And this box down here for terms and payment advice, is I'll always put in something about payment within 14 days. This is our bank name, this is our sort code, this is our account number. So anybody who's getting a PDF invoice has got those printed, and normally put the reference, bank reference, as the invoice number. So we've got some good procedures forming up. I think a lot of people are guilty, send quotes and they don't put any terms on. If you stick some basic terms in that box there, it will appear on every single quote. Really, really important just to have a few terms as well. Right, I think that covers your invoice settings. Let's go down. What else have we got? I'm not going to talk about online payments today or any of these settings. I just want to give you the absolute bare minimum. A quick glance at your financial settings before we go. If you are VAT registered, this is where, or you need to become VAT registered, this is where that is controlled. I would definitely recommend working with an accountant if you're becoming VAT registered and getting this set up absolutely right. There are some really confusing VAT schemes like cash and accrual and flat rate. You need to absolutely make sure that you're on the right one as well. Sorry, I've just clicked the wrong button there. And again, construction industry scheme. This can be useful if you're suffering CIS payments. It's not something I'm going into this video. One of the things I do like to do is if we're starting this on the kind of the start of April, maybe you're running in line with the tax year, or you're running in line with the end of March, then just making sure that we put a block on these can be really useful. Putting a lock date in means that no one can accidentally put the wrong date on invoice. It's going to come up with a warning saying, by the way, there's a bit of a problem here as well. So we can save that into the system. Great. One of the things before you put lock dates in that I would just say is you might have to put an opening balance of your bank account in, and I would definitely recommend you do that before you put those lock dates in as well. Most people won't be running multi-currency as a sole trader, or obviously landlords. They're quite expensive, the multi-currency licenses of Xero. I think they start at about £50, something like that off the top of my head. And I'll not look at chart of accounts just yet, or fixed asset registers. And I'm going to make a separate video on tracking categories. The conversion balances, what you find is once we've added a bank account, you see now I've locked it, by the way. We can't actually go back and edit these. But now if I haven't got a lock date in, then I can go in, and what you find is you've got your bank account on right at the very top, and it'll ask you what the balance is. Now that's important because when we're on our dashboard, we're going to see what the statement balance is versus the balance in Xero. Now if you haven't put an opening balance at the last day of your financial year, that balance is wrong, and when we get into the process of reconciliation, then it's not going to work. And I'm going to talk about reconciliation shortly, but we're not ready for that point as well. We're still just doing the kind of, let's get ready to start sending invoices or put purchases in, or making sure that the reporting codes are right. And I think there's not enough done at this stage. People integrate their bank account, they're like, right, I'm ready to reconcile. They start reconciling stuff and they're like, oh, I wish I'd changed that and done this, and you know, what a problem. Let's have a quick look at the chart of accounts, because I do think that's important before we can actually start doing some stuff. So your chart of accounts, I've set this up as if I'm a landlord. So when you were setting up your Xero, you might have seen there was a drop down box and it says, oh, do you want to use our default chart of accounts? And you might have panicked at that stage and gone, oh yeah, sure, why not? If you'd opened that up, you might have found there was a sole trader, a limited company, and Xero have got this thing called chart of accounts depending on your organization. What the hell is a chart of accounts? It's the buckets in which things fit into, basically. So if I'm a landlord, it's rental income. If I was a plumber or electrician, it's sales, it's turnover, and we can have more of these categories. So in this one, because it's a landlord, it's rental income, but for example, we could have sales materials, sales labour. My organisation, if you look at Orange Umbrella's management accounts, you would see accounts production for limited companies, or Xero revenue for when we resell Xero licenses. And that's so I can keep an eye on the cost of goods sold nominal, which we have one corresponding for our Xero costs as well. But what you find is they're being customised. Now you can make these your own. So when you run a profit and loss account, what it means is when you're looking down your figures, you can say, oh, that's what I've sold, voices, or that's what I've made in rent, or oh, they were my costs. And like, you know, most, whether you're a landlord or a sole trader, a lot of these things are kind of the same, aren't they? And there's a few kind of things that are different, like landlords have lots of mortgage interest, sole traders probably don't have big bank loans or anything like that. They're probably buying materials in, or buying bits of software, or paying for train travel. Or the idea is you find a lot of the things are the same. Now, if you've picked the right nominal structure when you were setting up, it's sorted those out. But you can absolutely add your own, make these your own, and have it so the reporting style is exactly as you want it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave reconciliation till last and go into the demo company at that point. Now I'm doing that for a particular reason, because it's good account practice when you're doing bookkeeping that you always make sure that all of the sales invoices are in and all of the purchases are into the system. So that's what we want to do. And let's start with our sales system as well. Now, if I go in like from here, because I've never done any of this before in the Xero, then normally you'll be able to click somewhere up on these invoices like there, and it'll take you into that system. There'll be lots of information about what's awaiting and payments and everything like that. If I just click on that sales overview, we've got various things going on here. You've got the quote system down here. Now, I think this is fab, this quote system. And if I click in to see all, I think this is a massive win for a lot of people who are working in the trades, is they can produce a quote, they can send it to their client, and then once you've generated a quote, you can turn it into a sales invoice, and it's all streamlined. The other thing as well is that Xero have got an app, and the app is great when you're on the move. It does all sorts of really powerful stuff. We can generate a quote, we can send a sales invoice, we can take a card payment and turn it into a chip and pin machine. Like, wow, really, really powerful stuff. I think for a lot of businesses who are coming into making tax digital, like sole traders, they've never had facilities like this, and this is game changing. We start capturing contact information, we start putting emails in, and I know this is, it's account software, but a lot of people have never had any form of data capture in their business. They've never had any sales process. I see this all of the time. At the moment, I've got a nice guy doing some decorating for me in the house, and he's just, scrapping around through text message trying to find what he quoted me so he can generate an invoice, and then he's going into Microsoft Word, and then he's sending it in an email, and he has to open up Microsoft Outlook or a Gmail or something like that and send it to me. Xero's going to do all of that for you. It will send the quote. It will keep a record of the quote. The customer can accept the quote. As soon as they've accepted it, you can generate a sales invoice from it. You can capture their data. Honestly, it's game changing. So if you can, I definitely recommend you using that. The invoices section here as well. Again, if you're just wanting to generate a customer invoice, you can just press on a new invoice. You can fill it all in. Now, interestingly, because I haven't done this setup process where I was just showing you to upload the logo and everything like that, and I haven't gone through the organization settings, it's prompting me to do it at this stage because it obviously knows how important. I'm just going to press the X for the moment just to show you what it looks like. Again, this is where we can create a contact who we're sending the invoice to, the issue date. One of the because I've set up a default to say 14 days, it will always default that to that. But if you're like, oh, actually I've got 30-day terms, really quick shortcut is just to put a plus 30 in, and it will automatically do the 30 days for you. Purchase orders, if your client had given you a purchase order reference, put that in there. Don't worry about items. It's only if you're running stock, so you've got inventory items that are sat on the shelf. Put something in there. Put a rough description in. If you, for example, doing hourly work and you wanted to do 10 hours at £60 an hour, for example, you could do it like that. Obviously, if you're in the trades, you could put sales nominal. This is obviously for landlords. And so you can do all of that stuff through the sales invoice. You can attach files onto here as well. And then obviously we can send it across and approve it. We can approve the invoice and email it directly to our clients. So it's really, really simple to do that as well. If I go, I think I've, ultimately, one of the nice things here is that we're keeping a record of all of our sales invoices, and once we've got a list, we can press send statements and send them all out to our clients as well, which again is a massive time saver. I hear all the time people complaining that they haven't got someone helping them with they can't collect the money and the clients aren't paying on time and stuff like that. Xero has got inbuilt features to help you, automated email reminders, doing your statements, but it is important for these things to work to do your bookkeeping and keep things up to date. The bills to pay section works in much the same way. It works on the assumption of putting bills in. Now what I'll do is there's various ways of getting bills into the system, and this is where you want to run something called a purchase ledger. There's two ways of doing your books. Fundamentally is one, we could just deal with all of the purchases at the point of reconciliation. Now that's fine if you're not VAT registered or you don't have lots and lots of purchases coming in. You might choose to deal with it like that, or you might want to do, this is what we call like credit bills, where we want to put all our bills in. Now if you're a landlord with maybe like 10 different properties, you might be like, actually this is probably really useful for me to be keeping a record of all of my bills, seeing who needs to be paid, and I can manage that like that. Or again, if you're, for example, plumber, electrician, where you've got lots and lots of purchases and you're not maybe paying straight away, you've got credit agreement terms, you might want to track all of your invoices into here as well. I'm going to probably do a separate video about Xero files and how you submit things into purchases, because I think it is quite complex, and this is like a whistle-stop tool of getting you set up with Xero ultimately. What I'm going to do from this point, because there's no bank account, is I'm going to quickly just jump into here, and if I click on this box up here, we've got this link to the demo company. If it doesn't come up, if you just start typing demo, it will pop up for you. And the nice thing about the demo company is if you're not sure, go and have a little play in here. But the nice thing for me is I can show you what your Xero should look like once you've got a bank account. And this example has got 2 bank accounts. Now, the bank feeds don't exist because they're just fictional. And we can see the invoices that are awaiting payment. Really nice, you know, you've got a nice list of kind of what's kind of needs to be paid, what's overdue, and everything like that. Now, if I just go in here, one of the features that wasn't working before is obviously we've got send statements there. This is really, really useful. So if I said I want outstanding statements, default that to today's date, press update, and I need that payment off Ridgeway University, I can just click that, press email, put in their email address, and it'll basically say, look, we need payment for this straight away. And again, I've shown you in the settings where you can customize all of these email templates as well. So go and do that. Make these things your own, absolutely. And again, if we look through the purchases as well, so we've got bills to pay here. This is what it would look like, and these are like people who you need to pay ultimately, and they've been added. And you can see if I just click one of the examples here, got like a taxi service in there. But again, I'm going to record a separate video about payments. Once you've made sure all of your sales and your purchases are in, we're ready for that exciting bit, which is about reconciliation. And this is what you'll see is, and again, what I was saying, this, you've got the statement balance and the balance in Xero. Now, with the statement balances, that should be right with your bank, and if it's wrong, you need to fix it, because reconciliation is about verifying the accuracy between what's happened on your bank and your account on this piece of software, which is Xero. So if it's wrong, then everything you're reconciling to is inaccurate. So it's really, really important. And the difference between the two numbers should be the difference between what's actually on the statement and the outstanding items to reconcile. That's the simplest way to think about it. If I go in here to reconcile the items, and this is where we're putting things into those buckets, into those clever little kind of parts of the charts of accounts. So when we run the profit and loss, we've got actually accurate information. So here's an example. We've got one here. So this is a spent item. We've got one or two things that we can do is, if we're not running a purchase ledger, so we're not putting all those purchases in, we can put that off to FastPay. And we can obviously look in here, and here are all your chart of accounts things. So let's say it was a cost of goods sold item. This business here, the demo company, is VAT registered. You're likely not to be VAT registered, but you might be. But you can obviously treat for VAT there as well. And I'm not going to talk about that. That's to do with the tracking category. So if you're measuring cost centres, things like that, I'll again do a separate video on that. And once we're ready with that, if we're not running the purchase ledger, we can just reconcile it. Great. Interestingly, there's that Ridgeway University that I was just having a look at on the sales side. It's actually come into the bank, and that's why it's really important that you do reconciliation before you start doing any debt collection activities, because there's nothing worse than going and trying to collect a debt in to discover that your client's already paid. So one of the great things of Xero is it comes up and it's like, I know what that is. We've got a match, and you can see, just because it comes up in green, by the way, doesn't mean you should press OK. It just means that Xero thinks it's right. I think a quick glance, we know it's right, because it says the bank line, which is this bit here, versus what Xero thinks. we've got the same reference number. So we're like, oh yeah, great. And Xero's just making it easy. And as you start pressing the buttons, it starts learning as well. And you can, again, there's a spent item, so something that's sat on the purchaser's side where the invoice has been added in. It's matching up to that. Lovely. And the reconciliation process, it shouldn't be terribly difficult. There are a couple of things I think that can catch you out, and I'll maybe do little separate videos about that, like for landlords, for example, who are using a managing agent. What's the best practice in which to kind of manage that process and have a look at doing that. And I think in terms of dealing with payment setups or more advanced Xero features, I'll try and bring that into it as well. I'm not going to go cover off anything much more at this stage, because I think that is the basics to get you going. Raising sales invoices. Are you going to put purchases in or just reconcile them? And actually doing the reconciliation. The configuration of just a quick double check to make sure we've got all the settings as we want them is a pretty good move before you get going. And that should get you running on Xero, no problems at all. So if you've got any questions or queries or anything, leave them in the comments of the video. I'm always keen to know where people are struggling, things they might want to know, or extra kind of little features. This has been quite a long video today, so what I'm hoping to do is add just some little short bits looking at individual features that are going to help us for making tax digital. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.